All right, I want to welcome everybody to the November 6, 2019 meeting of the Revere Conservation Commission. If we can all stand and salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call of members. Heather Legier. Ann Raponi.
Present.
Joe Laval. Here. Dave Etoff.
Here.
Deborah McHatton.
Here.
And Robert Cassidy.
Present.
And I'm Chairman Nick Molason. Can I get approval of the minutes for the October meeting, please? Can I have a motion for an approval for the minutes?
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Joe makes a motion, seconded by Toby. All right, first item on the agenda is a public meeting for determination of applicability, Alden Mills Fire Station. Whoever's here for Alden Mills? Alden Mills Fire Station? Who's here to talk for Alden Mills? Yeah, you are, Chief. You're here as well. How are you, Chief? Just name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Christopher Bright, Revere Fire Chief, 400 Broadway.
And you can come on up too. Yeah, just name and address for the record, please.
Chris Emilius from Brennan Consulting, Civil Engineers, 24 Ray Avenue in Burlington, Mass.
Okay. So if you can just explain to us what we kind of went over on Saturday, what we're here for, and
Sure.
if you want to bring that
Yeah.
that easel, we can bring over here so they can see it in the camera. If you set it up on that side of the podium, facing that camera, then he can get a view of it. Perfect.
So
And you can pick up that microphone too and bring it over there if you have to.
Sure. So the city is proposing to reconstruct the Alden Fire Station on the Linway, between the Linway and Route 1A. And we're thinking of increasing the size of it and putting some parking and connecting the fire station with trucks to the roundabout for the MBTA. And when we first started the project, what we noticed was that the FEMA had part of the land in the 100-year flood zone. And so based on the 10-foot contour interval. So we went out and did a land survey and found that the 10-foot contour was a little bit different than what FEMA was showing. And so what we show on this plan here in the blue is where the actual flood limits are, which is actually, for the most part, off of our property. There's about 300 square feet next to the Route 1A on-ramp, but we don't intend on filling that space at all. So we intend on maintaining the flood storage that is presently in the area and not going to affect that in any way. So we submitted a application of determination with the Conservation Commission and DEP to illustrate what we're trying to do and show that we are not going to be impacting or affecting the flood storage in the area. So that was our intent.
Thank you, sir. Chief, you have anything you want to add? We were there Saturday, so we pretty much know what it is. A bunch of us were there, so we know what we got to vote on today. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
To support it, it's very important.
Absolutely.
The fire department, public safety.
Absolutely, Chief. All right. Councilor Powers, would you like to speak? Anything to add?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, just to say that this is a project that is certainly long overdue. With all of the construction going on, particularly on the east side of the city, the boulevard, Ocean Avenue, the existing station down there now not only is in disrepair and considered a dangerous building, but certainly is not adequate for a ladder truck, which will be required at some point down there. So I would urge the commission to move this as fast as we can. And the next step would be to finish the negotiations with DCR with regard to the land in the back that we may need.
You got DCR and the state, right? Both of them? Mass
DCR,
DOT?
DOT, DCR, yeah. And once that happens, then I know, I've spoken to the mayor, we're set to move ahead on this and put a fence around it, start the demo, and start the rebuild of a brand-new fire station, which is certainly, as I said, long overdue. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Counselor. Bob O'Brien?
I'm Bob O'Brien. I live at 10 Ocean Avenue. I'm Director of Economic Development for the city. And I join John Powers in urging your prompt approval of the matter before you. I particularly want to acknowledge John's role in having championed this facility over these many years. And I think it's a tribute to John, the mayor, and everyone else that it has come to this point, not least Chief Bright. So we support it in every respect and urge your prompt and positive action. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors have anything to say? I mean, commissioners? Go ahead. Sure.
I'd like to ask the chief a question. When the new fire station is built, what apparatus do you intend to have, would you expect to have there?
We'd reactivate our Engine 2 station, which was disbanded, our Engine 2, which, when the station closed back in the early 90s, we disbanded that.
So you would have one fire engine there and then,
I think our initial plan would be to reactivate the engine company down there when we rebuild the station. And then we have our eye towards, hopefully, we may, adding a ladder truck down there. We'll have a bay for all our water rescue craft down there. So, and we're trying to, not just look ahead to the next couple of years, but for the next 100 years.
I mentioned this as a resident of the Pines myself, and I know there have been times, particularly in the summer when there's tons of traffic around, that it's
Sure.
very hazardous for the fire department to get anything down there, including ambulance pumps or anything to that effect. We're kind of isolated down there. We'll probably get faster help from Lynn in some of those circumstances. Because,
This ought to remedy that.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm hoping.
The city's in a position now, I think, to do it, and I'm very glad to be here to help it along.
Thank you, Chief.
Any other commissioners have any questions?
Chief.
Toby?
What will happen to that memorial that's down there?
The memorial, we're going to lose a lot of that open space down there. So our idea was to redo the memorial, but build it right into the rear wall of the building.
Yeah.
So we'll have it built right into the fire station wall.
Yeah, okay. That's very good, good.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Yep. Bob, you got something else to say?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just mentioned, since it did come up, the DCR and DCAM property issue. We have a meeting scheduled on November 13th at Foley Hoag with representatives of those two agencies and our attorneys. That matter should be successfully resolved. I might also mention, in terms of the staffing of this facility, that with the new development, particularly the new hotels, they'll be able to support the kind of staffing that will be required to handle this.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob. Any other commissioners have any questions? So what we're looking for here is a negative determination so they can move on to their next steps. So do I have a motion to issue a negative determination?
I'll make a motion.
Heather makes a motion,
I'll second it.
and seconded by Ann Raponi. So I will give you the original for this copy of this tonight. You can take it with you tonight to file it.
Sure.
What do you need to do? So can we sign two of those?
And then do you contact DEP, or should we, as to your determination?
I'll mail a copy of it to DEP as well, but you can contact them as well if you
Yeah,
want to move the process along sooner.
Alright, pull
DEP
that
sometimes takes their time, but, yeah. Yeah, I'll get it, a copy sent off to them, but if you guys want to contact them as well, you'll be good.
That's great,
Yep.
thank you.
All right, so we'll get that all
Thank you,
signed.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
No problem, chief, anytime. Anything we can do to help. All right, next item on the agenda is a public hearing for Mass DEP file, which I know the issue, the number, I just seen it, 0610736 for HYM Suffolk Downs, Phase 1R roadway and infrastructure. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
I make that motion.
Toby makes the motion, I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dave Etoff. Can I just name and address for the record, please? Hit the button, Mike.
Mike Borowski, 15 Sullivan Street, Charlestown.
Okay. And if we can just explain, I know we went over it Saturday, but if we can just give an overview of what's gonna happen, anything we got, we can show up to that camera there. Will be
Sure.
great.
So I'm Mike Borowski with the HYM Investment Group, here today with Jeff Heidelberg from Beals and Thomas, our civil engineer. And yes, we did do a site walk on Saturday. It was a nice brisk day, 8:45 a.m. So I know we answered a lot of questions there, but happy to answer more questions here tonight. We have been before the Conservation Commission before, so most recently in February, where we worked to get approval and an order of conditions for approval of the demolition of the horse barns. That has not happened yet. However, it's pending very shortly in the next few months. So we are here tonight focused just on Phase 1R roadway and infrastructure work. So this is really just for construction of roadways, water infrastructure, sewer, drainage, utilities, just for the Phase 1R area, which is the first initial development area at Suffolk Downs. And we will be back before the Conservation Commission many times moving forward into 2020. We will be back for actually each individual building parcel. So I think we'll be seeing each other a lot. I do know that and we have met with the Friends of Belle Marsh, I would just point that out, and I know that they did request some additional time. However, we feel that, everything we're proposing here will not have an adverse impact to Belle Marsh, and at the same time, we will be back here again before the commission many times. So with that, I think I would just briefly describe each of the, kind of areas of focus of this notice of intent. Primary work really covered here is the construction of the roadway network, sewer infrastructure, water infrastructure, drainage, utilities. There will obviously also be some site fencing and things like that on site to prepare for this construction work. So again, there'll be some construction staging. We'll also be doing some surcharging. So I think we talked about this a little bit on Saturday. So that involves actually placing soil on the future locations of these roadways. We want to make sure that there's no settlement of the roadway beds and utility beds as the project moves forward. So we'll be actually placing large amounts of soil on these roadways, and then it sits there for a period of, call it 3 to 6 months, and then it preps preps the roadways preps that area, that land for actually creating roads and installing utilities. So that'll be another major item that we're undertaking that would follow the demolition once it happens. Key item really is the creation of the roadways. So we have an internal roadway network that we are creating. We were before the Revere Planning Board recently, and were approved for a preliminary subdivision plan. And that laid out all the parcels in Phase 1R and all of the new roadway parcels to be subdivided off the main Suffolk Downs site. We will be also creating a temporary road as part of this. So the Phase 1R area is right near the Beachmont T station. I think most people know, but we will be creating a temporary road as part of this back to Tomasello to create access. And there will be access points connecting to Winthrop Ave as well. And we will be creating an interim surface parking lot. So this is just to, have an additional place for people or residents or visitors or workers to park who, that are part of the Phase 1 plan. That interim parking lot will be landscaped within the parking lot itself, and then on the edge along Winthrop Avenue. Additionally, we will be installing sewer infrastructure. So there is an interim sewer connection that will connect into a 20-inch sewer line, a City of Revere sewer line, and that will connect to the public safety building, or to a line in a manhole that's at the public safety building. So we will be actually doing some directional drilling underneath the wetlands area, underneath Sales and Green Creek, and we can go into that in more detail if you'd like when we have questions. And then that is a precursor to a kind of a final sewer connection for Phase 1R and moving forward for the entire project, which will be done later on down the road with this project. We will create easements so that the City of Revere can access and maintain the sewer infrastructure over time. And the same will be true for the water infrastructure, where we'll have an interim water connection, but we will also create easements, so the city can maintain that, the public water infrastructure over time. Last two items, I should say, that are covered in this NOI, and understand there's some material in there. We'll be creating drainage infrastructure, for the Phase 1R area. So this is really a stormwater management system where the idea is that it's designed to mitigate potential impacts the project could have on the existing watershed. So one of the main items here is that there's a process water holding pond that will be converted to a wet pond. So the wet pond will discharge treated stormwater to Sales Creek. That's one of the major items to be undertaken as part of that work. And then, of course, there's just utilities, gas, electric, et cetera, telecommunications type utilities will be installed as in the roadways. And that's really the other item that's covered in this notice of intent. So that's a quick summary, but happy to take any questions that anyone on the commission has about the proposed work.
Any commissioners have any questions, concerns, or anything we didn't ask on Saturday?
Something just come to mind, and that you basically, that whole area, including the stable area.
Yes.
Are there any underground tanks there? I just thought I'd ask. I assumed that.
No underground tanks, no.
None that we know
Oil
of, at
storage
least.
or anything?
No. We have no record of any underground tanks.
Now, I would assume that you've done test borings as far as the
Yeah.
soil and everything?
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's part of, that all kind of works into our plan that helps us understand how the soil is composed, and we now know we need to compress that soil and do this surcharging work to make sure that we can build roads that won't settle. So yeah, we've done a fair amount of testing. And I would say, all of this entire effort that we're embarking on, with the initial demolition, approval and order conditions, and this work is really all so that we can start construction in Revere at the Beachmont T Station, as many people know. In Revere, the initial phase of development for the entire Suffolk Downs site, which is a large site, 160 acres, is at the Beachmont T Station, and so all these steps we're taking are really to further that and make sure that we can start construction and start, improving the site.
All right, thanks, Mike. Any other commissioners have any questions? No? Do I have any proponents that want to speak in favor of this? Mr. O'Brien.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Robert O'Brien. I live at 10 Ocean Avenue, and I am the Director of Economic Development for the city. And I am here to speak on my behalf and on behalf of the mayor in support of your approval of this project. As you know, we have been here on this project many times before. We will be here many times again. This is an iterative process. What we're talking about here is the next stage in the process. It is on a critical path that includes the demolition of the horse barns and the beginning of construction, which the city and particularly the Beachmont and Shirley Avenue community are very anxious to have get underway. We are aware of the fact that the Friends of Belle Isle Marsh have asked for a delay in this. I think they had asked for a delay of a week. Since you don't meet on a monthly basis, it's effectively a delay of a month. We would not support that only because it would interrupt a fairly important and critical path from the point of view of the community. The Friends of the Belle Isle Marsh have been part of this discussion from the beginning, will continue to be, and there is nothing about what's happening tonight that will preclude any discussion of anything that might have an adverse impact on Belle Isle Marsh. I would, however, ask you if you could include the Friends of Belle Isle Marsh for notices of your hearings. I understand they're technically not abutters, so they may not have gotten a notice of this meeting. If, as a professional courtesy, you could do that in the future, that would be most appreciated by the city and certainly by the Friends of Belle Isle.
Absolutely.
But we would urge you to move forward. I think this is a worthy project that has been discussed as much as any other project in the city of Revere and will continue to be. And I think what you're doing tonight advances the cause but doesn't preclude further discussion by either your body or the city or Friends of Belle Isle Marsh. I think it's timely, and we would urge your approval.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Any other proponents that want to speak? Hearing and seeing none. Any opponents that want to speak against this project? Okay, and so most of us were there Saturday, and we know what's going to happen. So, and again, Belle Isle Marsh did email me today for an extension, and I kind of told them it's been in been advertised for a week on revere.org's website, but as a courtesy, we'll notify them of any future meetings between
Great.
the city, myself, and conservation. If you guys can let them know as well, we'll keep them in the loop so they can have the questions in advance, maybe even ask them, have them come to the site visits if they have that many questions, so we can go from there.
Absolutely, we're happy to do it.
Yeah. So we're looking for a motion to approve this order of conditions. Does anyone want
I'll make the mo,
I'll
Toby makes
second.
a motion, Heather seconds it. All right, do I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to close out the public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Seconded by
I'll second.
I'll second.
Dave.
Thank you.
I just got the DEP file number today, so I'll have the signature page done today, but a couple of days I'll have the order of conditions. Who do you want me to mail it to? Mail it to you? All right. As soon as I have it, I'll let you know when it's ready, and you can either come and get it, or I'll mail it to you guys, whichever. All right? I'll shoot you an email, let you know. All right? Thanks.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
We'll sign both of those, Joe. All right, next on the agenda, it's not on the agenda, but we're gonna talk to them, and we all talked about this on Saturday, and Ian doesn't know about it, but Point of Pines Yacht Club. We have a resident from the area that is a little concerned about them putting their docks on the coastal dunes in the shallow, like the inlet of the coastal dunes, so he would like to speak. Mr. Kavanaugh, if you'd like to come up.
My name is Tom Kavanaugh, and I live at 75 Rice Avenue in the Point of Pines. I've been in the Point of Pines for over 40 years, so I well remember the floodwaters that roared through the Point of Pines Yacht Club in '91 and deposited over 3 feet of water on Rice Avenue. When I see that in the alteration of the sand dunes and the seagrass on their property, I can see that happening again. And I don't understand why they made a break from what they've done for the previous decades when they removed their floats from the beach. They put the crane in their parking lot, carefully lifted all the floats over the sand dunes and deposited them in their parking lot. This year, they cleared a large swatch of seagrass, put the crane on the dunes, and then proceeded to put a large number of their floats over the area where they put where they cut down the seagrass. It is alarming to me that they did this.
Well, I know in my plans myself, that whole area where they went through with the crane,
Yes.
that whole area was not needed to be dunes. They only needed to do a certain section. It's kind of overgrown itself to that section. So where they're driving over was not originally the part of the coastal dunes that they were ordered to put back years
It was
ago.
initially like a 6-foot walkway over the dune.
Correct, yeah.
For an access to the beach. And they
Yeah.
put this huge crane on top of it, and it's like, maybe 2 feet lower than it was at the beginning.
Yeah,
Right?
okay. Well, we were there Saturday, we did a site visit, and I know why they put their docks there, because of the damage from the storm we had a couple of weeks ago, so the insurance company needs to come out and see them, and they need to repair them. And we made a determination that they're fine where they are, because it's, the dune grass right now is dormant, it's not growing. And by the time it does start growing again, it's gonna be the spring and all that stuff will be out of there. I don't see it gonna affect anything with the water or cause any storm damage, mainly because it's in the inlet. The dunes go up like this and they have them inside the bed of it, so it's not gonna
You
stop
were there
anything.
Saturday, did you see the 2 passageways on both sides of that building?
Yeah, I was there Saturday, yeah.
The one on the west side, right, there's a fence down, a keep off the dune sign pushed over.
Yeah.
There's a path in there to drive a truck through. That should all be doomed. And I don't know why it's there. Oh, when are they gonna put it back?
Yeah, I don't know why, if you guys want to answer that question, I don't know why it's down, and that's not even why I'm here today. We're here today
understand that.
because you wanted to talk about the docks, now you're bringing up something else. If we're gonna have a further discussion about this, then we'll make a public hearing for it, so I can have everybody here instead of just you. And what concerns me is, sir, and I deal with calls from everybody all over the city. You're the only person that called on this. If I had gone 30 phone calls, then I'd say, okay, I have a concern down there.
I didn't knock on any doors and I didn't, ask for
No,
support from any of my neighbors.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you seem to be the only one with the issue, and I understand your issue, and I respect it. I don't see any problems with it. It's not gonna cause any extra flooding. It's not gonna cause any extra water to come in the street. If anything, it's gonna keep the water back. It's gonna keep the water from coming back. And the agreement I made with them, that if they happen to do damage of any of the dune grass, that they have to replenish it in the spring. But I don't see that happening because it's dormant right now. It's not growing.
In the dunes itself?
And the dunes itself, yeah. If anything, well, they have it inside the dunes. So if you've gone out there, and I know you've been on their private property already, so their dunes go like this. They have those docks inside the bottom bed of it, basically.
Okay.
So the dunes are up on the sides of it. They're not disturbing the dunes, so I'm giving them permission to keep them there for the winter, so they can work on them. And I know me and you, we talked last week, they're gonna repair those in place where they are right there, and you says, oh, they're gonna make it a workshop. Well, they're not gonna make it a workshop.
Truck in there?
Is it gonna, at some point, they're gonna put a crane back in there to put them back in the water, yeah.
Oh, I know, well, that's in the springtime. but
Yeah, that's in the
I mean,
springtime.
During the wintertime, with that passageway that they have on the east side of their building, they're gonna drive a truck in there?
I don't see why they'd have to drive a truck in there. They're gonna work, they're gonna have hammers and saws and nails to fix the docks. There's gonna be no fluids, no oils, no nothing like that, so there won't be no trucks on the dune grass or anything like that. That'll be in the spring for the crane, that's it. Yep.
You understand
I
my
don't,
concerns?
I understand 1,000% your concerns, and I don't want you leaving here today thinking I didn't do anything I could to help you. Six of us went down there
I
Saturday.
understand that you went down there.
Yeah, and again, like I said, if I had gotten 30 phone calls about this, if, not even me, Councilor Powers would have gotten calls about this as well. I don't see it being that big of an issue, and believe me, I understand and respect their concerns, but I don't think I don't think we're gonna have any damage. And if there is any damage to the dune grass, they know they're gonna be responsible to replenish it.
But not floodwaters.
Well, I don't think that those docks being there are gonna cause any extra water to come on Rice Ave during a nor'easter,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you for hearing me.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like some assurances from the yacht club that this is going to be a one-time occurrence. It's not going to be something that's continued year after year. And if that were so, then it certainly would cause some damage, I would think, if it were.
Correct, yeah, that's something we talked about on Saturday, and it's just because of the storm they had 2 weeks ago, what was it, 3 weeks ago now. They probably have, I don't know, 12 or 15 docks and piers that are ruined, that are damaged, that the insurance company's gonna come out and inspect.
So the residents can rest assured that this is going to be a.
No, this is, you have, on recording and for the viewing audience, this is gonna be a one-time thing. If this is something they're gonna look to do every year, next year I'm gonna tell them they can't do it, and we need to come up with a better game plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Counselor, you're welcome. We're all set. I have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Ann makes a motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by, we'll say Toby. Alrighty, thank you, everybody. Oh, I just gotta have you two guys sign that, those two, for me, please. Yeah.
Which one are you going to check on the fire station?
So you'll have, from now on, whenever I know something's gonna happen with Suffolk Downs, I'll make sure you get an email.